said it couldn't happen here. But on that day...
The monster is coming!
The day hell touched Earth.
The Great Tri-State Tornado, March 18th, 1925.
Imagine you're sitting in a small schoolhouse in southern Illinois. It's a normal Wednesday. It's March 18th, 1925, but the air feels strange, heavy. The sky has a greenish tint. Something doesn't feel right. You look outside, and you see it, a massive, dark tornado already on the ground. It's more than a mile wide and moving toward you faster than a car on the highway. You have less than a minute. This is the true story of the Tri-State Tornado. It's the deadliest tornado in American history. A tornado that stayed on the ground for 3.5 hours, traveled 219 miles, and killed 695 people. To understand why this day became so deadly, you need to know one important thing. In 1925, people had no tornado warnings. There was no radar, no sirens, no weather apps, not even radio alerts. In fact, government banned the word tornado from weather forecasts because they thought it would cause panic, so people had no idea what was coming. The morning started quiet. Cool temperatures. Light drizzle. Kids went to school. Farmers worked in their fields. Everything seemed normal. But around lunchtime, things changed fast. Temperatures jumped suddenly from the 40s into the 60s. The wind became wild and unpredictable. The sky turned a sick, greenish color, a warning sign of a violent storm. Older farmers said they felt something wrong in the air. They didn't know how right they were at 1 p.m., near the small town of Ellington, Missouri. A powerful tornado touched down. Scientists today believe it was an F5. The strongest kind of tornado on Earth. But what made this tornado different and much deadlier was that it never lifted off the ground. Most tornadoes rise and fall. This one stayed on the ground for over 3 hours and traveled across 3 states, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, without stopping. It was like a giant buzzsaw cutting across the land.
1925, the Tri-State Tornado ripped across Missouri, leaving 90% of Annapolis destroyed.
Missouri was the tornado's first target. The towns of Annapolis and Bay Hill were hit early. Imagine looking up and seeing a black wall coming toward you, not a thin funnel, but a mile-wide monster covering the horizon. Survivors said the tornado sounded like 1,000 trains rushing at them. The ground shook beneath their feet. In Annapolis, every single building was destroyed. 11 people were killed. As the tornado moved toward Bay Hill, it grew even wider and more violent. Homes didn't just fall apart, they were ripped from the ground and shredded in midair. One woman, Mrs. Williams, remembered there was no warning. 1 minute we were inside, the next, the house was gone. I woke up 400 feet away in a field, holding my baby, my husband. We found him 2 days later. Missouri's final toll, 13 dead, 52 injured. But the worst was still coming. The tornado was heading straight for Illinois and straight for a busy mining town. At 2:26 p.m., the tornado crossed the Mississippi River into Illinois. First, it hit the small town of Gorham. In less than 2 minutes, the town was destroyed. 37 people died, but the tornado was only getting stronger. It was now moving at 73 miles per hour. It's faster than people could run, drive, or escape. And ahead of it was a town of 11,000 people, Murphysboro. At 2:30 p.m., the sky turned black. Some people heard a roar like non-stop thunder. Others felt pressure in their ears. Then the tornado hit. The west side of Murphysboro was the first to be struck. 3-story brick buildings, which normally stand strong for decades, didn't just break, they literally exploded outward. Across the city, 152 city blocks were wiped out. Entire neighborhoods disappeared. Imagine being inside your home. Your windows smash inward, your roof lifts. Off the walls collapseur, thrown into the air by winds over 300 mph. Struck by debris, planks, bricks, metal, even parts of trains if you survived. You crawled out into a world that looked like a war zone. Buildings were gone. Fires burned everywhere from broken gas lines. People screamed for help. Others searched through rubble for family members. Murfreesboro suffered the highest death toll of any town in U.S. tornado history. 234 people killed. 623 injured. One town. 1/3 of the entire disaster's deaths. Only 4 minutes after leaving Murfreesboro, the tornado reached DeSoto, small Illinois town. In the center of town stood a 3-story brick school. Inside were 125 students and teachers. Many believed that brick buildings were safe places during storms. This time, that belief was deadly. Teachers heard the roar of the tornado. They tried to move children to safer areas. But there wasn't enough time. The tornado slammed into the school with unbelievable force. The walls blew out. Floors collapsed. In just 3 seconds, the entire building fell like a stack of cards. Only a pile of bricks and beams remained. 30-3 children died, some as young as 7. The total town death count was 69. Nearly every family lost someone. One father. Mr. Hendricks searched through the ruins with a broken arm for 6 hours. He found both of his daughters. Neither had survived. It was one of the saddest scenes in American disaster history. After leaving DeSoto, the tornado continued across Illinois, destroying several more communities, Parrish, Crossville, Carmi, and others. It killed dozens more. At 3 p.m., it crossed into Indiana. But it was still violent, still huge, and still fast. The town of Griffin was hit first, 25 killed. Next came Allensville, Princeton, and several farming communities. Finally, at 4:38 p.m. near Petersburg, Indiana, the tornado weakened and disappeared. Its final path was unbelievable, 219 miles on the ground, 3.5 hours without lifting 695, deaths more than 2,000. Injured, it remains the longest-lasting and deadliest tornado in U.S. history. After leaving DeSoto, the tornado continued across Illinois, destroying several more communities, Parrish, Crossville, Carmi, and others. It killed dozens more. At 3 p.m., it crossed into Indiana. But it was still violent, still huge, and still fast. The town of Griffin was hit first, 25 killed. Next came Allensville, Princeton, and several farming communities. Finally, at 4:38 p.m. near Petersburg, Indiana, the tornado weakened and disappeared. Its final path was unbelievable, 219 miles on the ground. 3.5 hours, without lifting 695 deaths, more than 2,000 injured, remains the longest-lasting and deadliest tornado in U.S. history. When the storm was finally gone, the survivors faced a nightmare. Entire towns no longer existed. Homes were gone. Schools gone. Stores and factories gone. And remember, this was 1925. There was no FEMA government emergency teams, no helicopters, no modern hospitals. People were truly on their own. In Murfreesboro, fires burned for hours. Doctors treated hundreds of people using candlelight. One doctor worked for 36 hours straight and performed 14 amputations in one night. Bodies were placed in long rows on the streets because there was nowhere else to put them. With phone lines gone, volunteers ran from town to town carrying messages for help. Eventually, the Red Cross launched its largest operation in history up to that time. Cities like Chicago and St. Louis sent supplies, doctors, and rescue workers, but the emotional trauma lasted years. People lost family members, friends, teachers, neighbors. Some towns rebuilt, others were abandoned forever. Many things made this tornado uniquely deadly. 1. No warnings. People didn't know a tornado was coming until it was on top of them, too. Extreme speed. At 73 miles per hour, no one could outrun it. Not even cars of that time. 3. It hit towns directly. It passed through crowded communities, not empty farmland. For weak building materials. Most homes were wood or weak brick. They collapsed easily. 5. Time of day. It struck in the afternoon, when schools were full. 6 F5 power in huge width. Wind speeds over 300 miles per hour, more than a mile wide. All these things combined to create the perfect tragedy. The tri-state tornado changed the United States forever. People demanded better weather information. The government removed the ban on saying tornado. Scientists began improving forecasting. Over time, radar systems, warning sirens, and better building codes were created. The first successful tornado forecast happened in 1948, 23 years after this disaster today. Many towns affected in 1925 have memorials. In DeSoto, a small monument honors the 33 children who died in the school. Every year, on March 18th, people gather to remember the victims. The greatest legacy of the tri-state tornado is simple. Warnings save lives. Today, the legacy of the tri-state tornado remains evident in every siren, every forecast, and every emergency plan designed to protect lives.